if the only truth is Brahman and everything else is false, if nothing else is real, if everything is an illusion, then how do we know that this is good and that's bad? What's the point of having a moral compass? Should we be making these decisions ourselves? Is there any kind of importance to doing a good action versus a bad action?
Yes, the bad and the good may both be relative. I won't say they are false. Let's use the word relative. They are relative. However, they are not equal and they are not unimportant. Yes, we are Brahman, but right now it doesn't seem to be so. If it seemed to be so, if it was an obvious fact, then our problems would be solved forever. But it's not an obvious fact at all. It's something that we read about, hear about. Maybe we get an inkling about it. Maybe we get some understanding about it sometimes. Then how do we make it a reality for ourselves? Or at least, even if it's a reality, how do we come to see it as a reality? How do we use it to go beyond suffering? First, at least for ourselves, if not for everybody else. And that's where good and evil come in. So from a Vedantic perspective, it is true. Both good and evil are relative. However, they're not equal. Evil takes you away from your own reality. Evil takes you away from spiritual life. And so evil produces more and more suffering. And good takes you towards spiritual realization. And here I'm talking about the good and evil in our own life. Then we'll talk about the world later. But in our own life, so it's not true that good and evil are equal. It doesn't matter. Both are illusions. Does the good act have... why should I go to the trouble of and the sacrifice of performing a good act if it has no value at all? No. It has the greatest value. It will take you, it will do you good in this life. It will do good to society and ultimately take you to liberation and freedom. So good is the basis of spiritual life. We can put it this way. Good is the foundation of God. So G-O-O-D, without goodness, spirituality is not possible. And the more mischievous and evil we are, the more we drift away from spiritual life. And the more deliberately good we try to be, the closer we are to spiritual life, closer we are to God, to enlightenment.
You did say like how deliberately we try to be good. I had a little bit of, I just want to touch that a little bit. What's the difference between truly being good and trying to be good? Because especially you see this in the US, I'm sure it must happen in India as well, but whether it's in friend groups or in stuff, you have mostly everybody, they put a face where even though I'm an actor as a profession, a lot of the days everybody's an actor. Everybody puts a face. Everybody shows on the outside that they're good. They're trying to be good, whether it's even with their family or whether it's with the outside world. What's the difference? And do you believe that if someone is trying to be good just for other people to see that they're good, will that eventually ever lead them to actually being able to do good actions? Does fake it till you make it, will that ever work? Or does the intention matter?
Yes. Yes to all of that, actually. Notice that even when people are pretending to be good, somewhere in them is the idea that it's good to be good, that I want to be good. Even if it's just for getting praise from others. But the very fact that you can get praise from others for being good shows that good is valued in society. So being moral, being good is an instinctive value attached to it, to that. Now, the difference you asked was about the difference between trying to be good and to be really good. It's a very interesting distinction that you drew out, and it's very important. Trying to be good is when my intentions are right, or at least partially right. I want to tell the truth. I want to lead a disciplined life. I want to do good to others, lead a life which is helpful to others. And the trying comes in because I have also these instincts in myself which prevent me from doing so. Maybe if I tell the truth, I'm going to lose something. People might not like me so much, or I might stand to lose financially. Maybe when I try to lead a disciplined life, the pleasure instinct gets the better of me, or the laziness instinct gets the better of me. Maybe when I try to do good to others, a kind of selfishness takes hold of me. Why should I spend my hard-earned money for others without any visible return? So this is what makes it a struggle. This struggle is called trying to be good, as distinct from what you called really good. Now that's interesting, because in Vedanta what we would say is, once the samskaras are purified, then predominantly our samskaras become good samskaras. Then the trying becomes less and less. So then to be good becomes more a question of, it's effortless now. It becomes part of my character. In fact, then trying to be bad would be an effort. So there comes a time when most of the samskaras are good and the life becomes transformed. You would call such a person, you'd call that person a saint. So it's all a matter of training yourself, and the samskaras, what one person has achieved, others can too. Sri Ramakrishna used to live near the bank of the river Ganga, and he would see these little boats plying up and down the river. And he saw that the boatman, they had big oars, poles, and they would have to push against the riverbed to push the boat out into the river. And that was hard work against the current of the river. But then he noticed, once the boat is in the current of the river, the boatman would sit back, and Sri Ramakrishna gives a graphic description. The boatman sits back, holds on to the rudder, and smokes a hookah. So that means he's merrily floating along. So there is a phase of struggle, and once you are in the midstream, you can just hold on to the rudder and guide the boat along the way you want to go. The effort is much less then, which means in the initial years, you are changing your samskaras by working very hard, and once the samskaras are changed, things go more in our favor. And then others might think, how is this person doing it? I used to think, how are the senior swamis rising so early in the morning and meditating for hours? I feel so sleepy. It's habit. It's a change of samskara. You do it, you'll be like that in no time at all. It seems to take years, but afterwards when you look back, it just got transformed soon. And there's this Zen story which I like of a monk who went to learn from a Zen master, meditation.
Okay.
And the Zen master said, you have to purify your mind and so on and so forth. After some time, the student came back and said, it's hopeless. Whenever I sit, my mind is full of bad thoughts. And the master said, you have to try and do this. Here is 2 heaps of very polished white stones and black stones, little pebbles. And whenever a unwanted thought comes into your mind, take up a black stone and put it in this bowl. And when the thought that you're holding on to, or the attitude that you're trying to cultivate, noble thought comes into your mind, take the white stone and put it in that bowl and meditate like this. So the initial days, the monk saw at the end of the day, the meditation, the bowl was mostly full of black stones, a few white stones here and there. But over time it changed until several months later, he was beginning to see many more white stones there and fewer black stones. So the samskaras are changing. One more point regarding this. There's a saying, Evam vritti samskara chakra avartamanam aharnisham avartamanam. The wheel of thoughts and subconscious tendencies is rotating day and night. So our thoughts bubble up from our tendencies. Our tendencies means what we have programmed ourselves in this life and past lives. So from that storehouse, it bubbles up. Our thoughts in the mind, our reactions to the world, they're all conditioned by our past lives and this life also. But those tendencies are beyond our reach because we are not able to access it. What we can access right now are our present thoughts. Whatever I feel now, whatever I can think now, at the most what I can remember, those things we can access. Now, to change the tendencies, you can't go directly down into your subconscious and change them directly. What you can do is, whatever is bubbling up in the mind, notice it dies down, it goes back to those tendencies again. If we hold on, if we let those thoughts proliferate in the mind, those existing tendencies will be strengthened. However, if you deliberately, through spiritual practice, when these thoughts are coming up and we are aware, that requires meditation and quietness. We are aware of what kind of thoughts are coming up and we deliberately replace them with positive thoughts. It could be the mantra. It could be just the opposite. A thought of anger can be replaced by a thought of peace. A thought of restlessness can be replaced by a thought of calmness and serenity, like that. If you keep deliberately doing that, and that takes effort, but whatever you replace, that one will go back into your subconscious. and slowly change the storehouse of samskaras over a long period of time. It's not easy. But then we will ourselves see noble, positive, peaceful, joyous thoughts bubbling up from within. Then you are in the middle of the stream. Then it will, the boat will go merrily on its own without too much of hard work, Last point. Sri Ramakrishna also says that he notices how these boats go into the midstream and then they raise a little sail. Even now you can see on the Ganga in front of the Dakshineshwar Kali temple or Belur Mutt. So a little sail, cloth sail they raise, and it catches the wind. The wind is already there, catches the wind, and it moves much faster than you would be able to row. And you don't have to do anything, you just relax. That wind is the grace of God. What we would have been able to achieve, maybe if we really tried for months and years, that wind does it for us. But for that, we have to surrender to God. So, grace of God is also necessary.